Hello, welcome back to SimonsRants. I'm Simon, this is Justin. Long time no see.
Yeah, so.
And today we're giving our first thoughts on, there was an extra lime on that one.
Yes, lime on that one. What a movie.
Well, that was a movie.
Today we're giving our first thoughts on Heretic, the new film by a couple of guys starring Hugh Grant in his latest, what is he calling Sarah? Like his Gremlin era or something? Where he's not doing like distinguished hot British men anymore. He's doing whatever the heck he wants. I'm gonna throw out another movie that this distinctly reminded me of. One that we saw together, and I'm curious if you will have a similar sentiment. Not necessarily in style of movie, but in my personal emotional reaction and investment. Barbarian. First half hour, phenomenal. I enjoyed this movie tremendously. Somewhat jokingly said to you, movie of the year, but I was really enjoying the first section of this movie. It was cheesy, it was silly, but it was also really good and really interesting. Yeah. It was also what the trailer said it was going to be.
Yep.
After that, stopping what the trailer said it was going to be, immediately I lost so much interest. It won me back a little bit, but never all the way. And I think this movie was okay.
Because of the clear, distinct two halves of this movie, I will also go with okay. But yes, I agree with this sentiment because that first hour, let's say, of the movie...
That's generous.
I don't know if it is. I'm trying to think of
That's generous.
when it gets cut off. I think it was around an hour.
I don't think it made it that long, but alright.
50 minutes maybe, but it wasn't that far off. I don't think it was a half hour. I think it was longer than that.
45. We'll split the difference.
Fine. First 45 of this hour and 45 movie. It's an hour and 45, right?
I don't know.
I think it is. Hour and 45 movie. Masterpiece.
Yeah.
Captivating at all times.
Yeah. Wonderfully written, funny.
Yeah.
Stupendous performance. I mean, even throughout. Even the parts I didn't care for at all, Hugh Grant made me keep watching the movie anyway.
Hugh Grant was phenomenal at all times. Didn't always love what he was working with, but he was phenomenal at all times.
I agree wholeheartedly. Throughout the whole second half when things were lame, I was just going like, but at least he's good, and he's interesting, and he's taking these lines that had varying levels of interestingness to them, and he would make them as good as they could be. But yeah, no, the movie, once it kind of strayed from the advertising for this movie, partially that is an expectation thing where I was like, well, this isn't what I wanted, what are we doing? But still, once I recalibrated and was back on board, I was still going like, but why did we do this with this idea? I never got fully back in.
Yeah, I didn't love where it was going, and then it hit us with the big twist, and I didn't love that even more, but I guess it made a little more sense. I didn't love it thinking about logistically and all the noise and such, but I guess there's explanations.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah,
that's another flaw with this movie, is it doesn't let you figure out anything on your own. It makes sure to tell you everything, which is the plague of modern filmmaking.
This needed some of it. It went a little heavy-handed at the end.
Sure,
but this definitely needed some of that explanation to prove that it wasn't completely mindless in that second half.
Yeah, but they didn't need to lay out the entire timeline of
not the entire timeline.
Because, we were watching it, and I went, oh, that's how this happened. And then, literally, a minute later, he then explains it. I'm like, I could have done without you telling me, because I already piece that together, and so it just gets repetitive. But yeah, no, it was such a waste of a premise, because I love the premise even more. When I texted you about watching this, the text was like, do you want to see a dumb horror movie, is what I think I said, something along the lines.
Pretty much, yeah. And
because I was like, the premise looks fun and all, it is A24, so you give it a little bit of a look extra because of the studio, but I feel like A24 has been meaning a little less recently. And on top of that, though, I'm like, it looks stupid, but it looks still like it could be fun. And then the movie starts, I'm like, oh, hold on, this isn't just fun. This is legitimately really good. A24 did it again.
Yeah.
And then no longer attached to this premise. I mean, I guess philosophically they were, but not literally.
Yeah.
And I'll explain that more in spoilers. But they took a philosophical premise and instead of acting it out, just talked about it. And I'm like, okay, I guess, sure. Kind of right down the middle with it, but maybe I guess slightly more toward good than bad, so like 5.5 to 6-ish, maybe. I don't know. Hugh Grant's enjoyable. That's really the only thing past the beginning section that I like.
Yeah, I guess I give it a 6.
Should have been a 7.5. I don't know what happened.
It was so good.
It was.
Up until that one clear point.
Yeah. Just seriously, like...
It's up until that door.
Yeah, and I think we can say that because the doors are in the trailer. You know, up and through Monopoly. Monopoly's great.
Yep.
Best part. And then doors, and immediately just... I can't even say, like, tripped and fell. It just, like, fell down an elevator shaft. Like, it was just... done. Like, gone. Any sort of interest, any sort of plot was just out the window. And, yeah, what a waste of Hugh Grant. Because he was phenomenal. It built up my expectations so high. Because it was so freaking good at the beginning. And then I wasn't expecting it to be that good.
I didn't expect it to be that good. But I know better than the Trust movies nowadays. It always feels like it's either the second half or the third act. Somewhere along the way, especially with horror films. Somewhere along the way, you have to ditch your crazy good premise and get to the meat of the story. Start explaining things or show the monster or whatever.
But it started so early in this one.
Yeah.
Normally it's, like you said, like the third act or like the final twist or something that loses you. This one's like less than halfway through and they just gave up. It's like, yeah, they pitched an idea. They all went, oh, that's really cool. Then what happens? And they went, I don't know. And they're like, all right, well, we'll write anyway. Maybe we'll figure it out as we go. That's kind of what it felt like. Frankly, it felt like they figured it out as they wrote it. I forget, I was a little bit delayed on my reaction, but I turned to you and said a whole different movie just started.
Yeah.
And I was probably like 5 minutes after that's when I said that, but that's what I was thinking. I was like, where in the world are we going here? Now, I was expecting some creepy shenanigans. And so at first I was like, this could fit into that. But then I quickly realized, no, this is not that. We were doing something else.
I don't know. Man, so many horror movies start out grounded and then have to go kind of off the deep end to get to whatever.
This didn't go off the deep end. It went into the wrong pool. It left the pool and went into the neighbor's yard. That's what happened. It wasn't the wrong... No. It was just like they went swimming somewhere else. I lost them.
You ever see like those? They're like the side of a cliff or something.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like the little glass wall you can get out and be It's like the glass wall just broke. They just spilled out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of just want to get into spoilers because I want to talk about why it's so disappointing. Because it raised my expectations so crazy high immediately. And then, yeah, absolutely dashed any and all hope. So that's what we had to think. What a waste. Almost worth watching just for the first part, though, honestly. But I don't know if I really want to recommend it for that. But it is interesting. The philosophical points of the movie are still fun. It's just they could have done something so much better with it. We are going to get into spoilers now, though. So if you don't want anything spoiled, you should click away, come back, and we can watch it. Or we'll talk about it when you've watched it. At that point, then, yep.
Yeah,
see, this is why I'm losing viewers. Anyway, bye. So, spoilers. Yeah, so long story short, the really cool stuff is, and you kind of probably could have picked up this part from the trailers, is that and by he, I mean Hugh Grant, he's trying to test these two Mormon ladies on their faith. That's the basic premise of the movie, and that can be really cool or it can be really lame depending on how you do it. How the trailer makes it look is he's like, all right, go through this door if you don't believe, go through this door if you still do believe, and then it gives you the illusion that there's some sort of labyrinth beneath his house, and when you go through this labyrinth you'll be tested. That's what it kind of made it look like in the trailer, because they got that shot of like the miniature version of the house with all these patches, widgets, and stuff, and yada yada yada. That was just clickbait, or a trailer version of clickbait, whatever you want to call that. What happens is they just go down, and the two doors lead to the same place. interesting philosophical point, because regardless of if you believe or not, we're all going to end up sort of in the same location in some way. We're all going to die, and if you believe, then sure, you'll be somewhere else, but he's coming from the not belief standpoint. And that's when the movie completely derails, because up until this point, it's really cool. He's making analogies with like Monopoly, how Monopoly isn't even the original version of the game. It's copied off of this other game that isn't as popular, and now Monopoly isn't even the most popular version. You've got mobile Monopoly, or you've even got the McDonald's version of Monopoly, all this other shit. And it's like, and then he's talking about how that's religion. And it's like, it's so fascinating. I'm enjoying everything he's saying. It's so entertaining. And then they're like, all right, we need to start fighting back. And you're like, okay, how? Mormonism is one of the most paper-thin religions in the world, so good luck, ladies. Maybe I should edit that out. Maybe I won't. But yeah, he's charismatic, he's funny, he's smart, he's creepy. It's everything that you would possibly hope and want for in this movie. And it's like a million times above my expectation for this movie. And then they go through the doors, they go down into this basement, and immediately you're like, I'm waiting for them to find a way through into the next room. And then the next one, I thought it was going to be labyrinthian. Like there was going to be various tests of different kinds, and you'd have to know spiritual literature and stuff on how to get through. I don't know, that's kind of what I was expecting. No, the rest of the movie is just there. And then this old creepy thing comes wandering in, and they're like, yes, and now we're doing an exhibition on faith. This is the prophet. She will be poisoned by this blueberry pie, and she will die, and then come back to life, and you will witness a miracle. And once she comes back, then she will give you a prophecy. And I'm like, okay, all right, but I'm still like kind of waiting to go to the next room, and it doesn't go to the next room. And we're spending the whole rest of the time there, and then it becomes a mystery of, it reminded me of The Illusionist, frankly, where I was actually kind of starting to think when she said this was all a ruse, like, or the first one, the one that ends up dying, yeah. She goes like, this was a magic trick, and my thought was, it was used in Sherlock Holmes too, but like, you know, you can take that drug or whatever that makes your breathing and your heartbeat goes so down people think you die. Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking. No, it turns out that he's just got a bunch of random bitches in his basement and he's killing them one at a time. And I guess that's what they're probably all Mormons that come to his door. I don't know.
They seem okay with it.
Yeah, frankly, because they said the Mormons warned them, but not a lot. They were like, you can leave them for last. Leave Hugh Grant's house for last. Don't really prioritize him. They didn't say, stay away from his house. Every Mormon we've ever sent there has never seen the light of day again. They just said, not a high priority. So, I don't know what the Mormons are up to there. None of my business. But so, yeah, it becomes that. And so now, instead of a physical, real labyrinth testing your knowledge, testing your faith, it becomes a mental labyrinth trying to figure out the next move before it happens. And he's like the Joker, predicting everything that she's gonna do before she does it, supposedly, except for stab him in the neck.
Everything.
Yeah. And it just was like, I would have much rather that have taken place in a literal labyrinth rather than just one room talking.
Yeah, it would have been a lot more interesting if there was a couple other trials, but
yeah,
we had to get all supernatural up in this piece.
Except for it never was supernatural, it's just faux supernatural.
Yeah, which is
lame.
Yeah, honestly, even lamer.
Yeah.
But
could have been cool if it was like in a labyrinth, I think, honestly. It was just the presentation.
It could have been alright in more of a labyrinth, but just having it in that one room and then having her figure it all out really Sherlockian.
Yeah, very quick.
It's just like, oh, wait, now I see what's going on here.
Yeah, there was at one point, she turns and she goes, or like, it all makes sense, or something like that. One of those tropes. And I went, it does? And then he goes, have you figured it out? And I went, nope. I was like, I'm lost. Because like she goes into this room full of caged women with these spraying things, just water. It's a really cold room and water is spraying on them as like a form of torture or something. And they had talked briefly about the Holocaust. So I'm thinking kind of like Holocaust visuals looking at this shower of sorts, but trying to figure it out. And he goes, so you figured it out? I'm like, not even close. Mm-mm. I have no idea what the hell's going on. And she's like, but of course I have. I'm like, good for you, lady.
The last part made a bit more sense, just because at that point all it was left was the bike lock, and I put the key in your jacket, and
Right.
this wasn't a mistake. This was on purpose. You were the
Sure
one I
was.
knew would be alive in the end.
Because I stabbed the other bitch.
But like her first revelation, what the fuck? Oh no! She's not the prophet. That's you just had someone sneak into the room.
Yeah.
When the pastor rang the doorbell, you would have been ready for that one. And so that when you went to the door, that gave us time to scream, so we wouldn't notice the girl come in through the. She had to move the table and move the body and move the trap door twice. But you know, yeah, no, that.
Yeah, because the table. So the woman is on top of the table, which is on top of the trapdoor.
Yep.
So the other lady is strong as hell.
It's either she's strong as hell, or they have it perfectly arranged that she's just not on the trap door, and the girl just had to move it off so that the camera could get a good angle of like, oh, see, big trap door. But like, then she had to dig the shit out there, which clearly hadn't been disturbed, and then. If that was disturbed, that woman still had to get the dead body down there. And the dead body wasn't just at the bottom of the ladder where she could look down and see it, where she just dropped it in. She clearly brought the dead body down and dragged it over there.
Yeah.
So,
For
like,
suspense.
yeah, very, very, they explain a lot of timelines in the end, but this does not add up here at all.
People are just very strong and very quick in this universe.
Yeah, all these old women he keeps in cages all the time and doesn't feed them or let them drink enough liquids, because that keeps them pliable, but that also gets them strong enough to get up and down that ladder carrying a dead body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like the whole thing is like he says near the beginning, he's like, I discovered what the one true religion is. But we'll get back to that later. And then he goes like, have you figured it out? And then she spends the next 5 minutes talking about the timeline, and you're like, okay, so what is the religion? She goes, the one true religion is control. I'm like okay. Like, that's just such a letdown, because it's like, yeah, philosophically this all makes sense, but once again, this would have been cool as an allegory, not just fucking talking about it, you know? Like, when he went on his rant, sure, I was cool with him talking about it literally then. What are you looking at?
Someone's shadow just walked past on the street, and then they just doubled back.
Oh. I was cool with Hugh Grant talking about it. But, like, after that, I wanted allegory. I want allegorical horror where it's like we're in a labyrinth that represents your, like, you know, because it's like the two doors. Like, do you choose to believe? Do you choose not to believe? Because no matter what you choose, you have to choose. It's not just, the choice isn't going to be made for you, you know? So, like, here is a representation of what it's like going through life, choosing one door or the other. Will you live or die? And it's like, no, they just talk about it instead.
Yeah, her turning into Sherlock was some wild stuff. But, like, the beginning, so good.
Yeah. Hugh Grant, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because, like, a lot of the beginning is just the trailer stuff. They don't show anything in the trailer from the first part before they go through the door. They may have shown the creepy lady in one of the trailers. I don't remember that or not. But the vast majority, if not the entirety of the trailer, is before they go through the doors.
Yeah.
And that whole thing in the trailer versus in the movie is told very similarly, but in the movie, obviously, it's told throughout half an hour, 40 minutes-ish, whereas in the trailer, it's a couple minutes. And at first, I was kind of concerned how they were going to keep making this interesting, but every time they kept talking, the more I was like, this is really good, and I like it even more.
Yeah.
It's better. You know, he didn't just do the board games, he also talked about music and how they're constantly copying each other and then suing each other, even if they weren't the original one to do it. Now they're suing somebody else when they were sued by somebody else. And then on top of that, he then also just talks about literal religion and how they and I was just like, this is fascinating, and I love this, and this is so good. And then, yeah, all the hope and goodwill that you built up gets absolutely dashed the second they go through the door.
And honestly, the one girl, the black-haired one, I liked her in the beginning of the movie too. She could snap back. She could actually fight. No, but she wasn't defending Mormonism, but she was, you know, attacking the guy's arguments, and she had a good time doing it too.
Yeah.
I expected that to continue, because then she she rebuts his arguments, points out some things he didn't pay attention to, which I guess should have further hinted at that this is just all an act.
Yeah.
Because he clearly hasn't thought out every single thing.
Yeah.
Some points, I guess, no one in this his whole time he's been running this scam or whatever has come up with these points to him. But she clearly comes up with some good points, gets them to go through the believer door, and they go downstairs, and you'd expect it, the next round starts or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other girl was fine. I liked her in her role.
But the character wasn't as good.
No, like they
the
killed off the
fault.
interesting one.
Yeah, it wasn't the actor's fault at all. They were both great.
Yeah.
For what they were.
They just killed off the interesting character.
The other character, which was the point.
You know, once again, philosophically, you kill off the strong,
right?
Because the weaker are more easy to manipulate.
Makes sense.
That's why he's also only manipulating or bringing in women. They're all women because they're in theory weaker and therefore easier to manipulate. So it's like there's a pattern here, and I get that, and it makes sense. But you gotta like do something with it. You can't just say it. Like like this could have been a TED Talk almost versus a movie. And it's like, if you're going to make a movie out of it, make it exciting, make it interesting, make shit happen.
Yeah.
And like it just, from the moment they went through the door until you saw the cages of women, I was bored. And then you saw the cages of women, I'm like, okay, now where is this going? I'm checking my watch going, there's not enough time left really to do anything major, but at least something is happening.
Yeah.
And then they spend the next 10 minutes explaining everything that had happened. And you're like, okay, sure. Are we done? And sure enough, we are done, except for she stabs him in the neck, runs around aimlessly, because time out, and I said this, I was thinking it the whole movie, he tells them from the jump, that door isn't gonna unlock until the morning. So if you want to leave now, you have to go out the back.
Yeah.
Why not wait till morning? You don't trust the guy, sure. But do you trust him more when you can see him face to face in the light?
That is true.
Or go through dark basement tunnels?
No one ever just grabs a weapon and stands in a corner.
Why not just stay in the living room for the next 8 hours with a knife? You picked up the knife or the letter opener, stand by the door and say, all right, well, we'll wait until 6 a.m. and then we're getting the fuck out. Stupid bitches. Do that. But anyway, I lost my first point. I got derailed by that. But like, so after she stabs him, she goes running aimlessly through the house. I'm like, where are you going? What are you trying to do? And then he pops out and stabs her too. And then the bitch that had her throat slit hours ago isn't dead for some reason. Stabs him with the 3 nails, which symbolism. And then she promptly dies again. So you can't even make this excuse like, oh, it wasn't actually deep enough of a cut. It was. She just decided she didn't need to breathe for the past 3 hours.
Yeah, because like the cut was clearly just like on one half of her neck.
Yeah.
But she was bleeding a lot, so I just like,
she was bleeding out her mouth too, signifying it was deep enough that it got into her throat.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, she's gonna die. And when she came back, I felt like, oh wow, I should have expected that, but that caught me a little bit by surprise. But I was very annoyed, but I should have seen it. I mean, of course I should have seen it coming.
The musical cue too of it too is done in a way to make you go, oh, it is a miracle, and then she promptly dies. And so for a split second I was like, are we actually doing that bullshit?
That was funny because I thought they were going there too.
And then she promptly dies, and I'm like, okay, no, so she just wasn't breathing. She was holding her breath for the past 3 hours. Good for her.
she had a tight hold on that neck. But
doesn't matter how tightly you hold the neck, the blood's on the inside choking you.
But honestly, I'm more annoyed with his throat cutting because that blade was wide. She got him right in the center of the throat.
Actually, it was kind of off to the side.
Still, the amount of damage she should have done there, 30 seconds, he should have been unconscious.
Yeah. He should have been dead very quickly, especially because he pulled it back out.
Yeah, she pulled it back out. He pulled it back out. He was tore up, bleeding out. 30 seconds, should have been down.
Yeah.
But no, because she's in the last level. So he has to run through the room and then up the one ladder and in the other room and then up the other ladder.
Yeah, and it's stupid too because like I said, where the hell is she going? She had no plan. She doubled back and forth like 3 times. I'm like, just the front door, girl.
Yeah,
it's morning now.
it-
and then after that happens, then she busts through some secret passageway out into this little window thing. I'm like, it is morning, girl. Out the front door.
Yeah, no, the window thing was interesting. I guess when she broke down the structure of the house, when she ran back up into the room and she saw like the picture of
The model.
Dante's not
yeah.
this model, Dante's Inferno, like the
Yeah.
picture of hell from Dante's Inferno. I'm like, oh, she really does have to go all the way back down. So I thought that's when he was going to pop back out, which she was going to have to go past him again to get to the real door that was there somewhere. And it's like, that's what that's supposed to be. Now just go downstairs, get stabbed. But survive anyway.
There's a lot of like hints at like, I mentioned the 3 nails. There was like attempts at symbolism and shit. But that's kind of how they did it, was symbolism and shit. Like, they didn't, like, go in all the way on it. They were just like, Dante's Inferno, 3 nails, ooh, make of it what you will. I'm like, no, fucking say something. Don't just say you're saying something.
What was his final speech or something? It was like, being out of character, so like, doing what they wanted. I forget what the fuck it was.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But
I just remember he goes like, they control everything about you.
Yeah,
Even what's underneath your clothes. And she goes, what? And then he goes, magic underwear, and she stabs him. Because, like, she needed the code word. She couldn't just stab him without the code word or anything.
I think overall, it was about as good as I expected it to be walking in. But that beginning made my expectations so much higher that now I'm disappointed. Because if it had just been what it was the whole time, like if you just took the average rating of it and made every scene that good, then I would have walked out going like, yeah, okay. But instead, it was so freaking front-loaded with the good stuff, and then nothing in the second half.
I didn't fully believe in this movie's ability to sustain it.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect it to go there.
Yeah. That was my biggest problem. Was I was just like, it legitimately felt like the writers were smart at first. I'm like, holy shit.
It was incredibly clever, highly interesting. I was really interested in the conversation.
Yeah.
What they were going to come up with next. What's this next point going to be on religion? What is this first religion? Because if it wasn't Zoroastrianism, then it was going to be something made up for the movie.
Yeah.
But I was fine with that too. I was very curious.
Yeah.
And then it was just,
I just control people.
this is what I do.
Yeah, because that's what religion does. And it's like, okay, sure. It seems like you're making such an intelligent point, and then the end result is something so basic and, like, it's been said a million times. Like, saying religion is just man's attempt to control people. And you're like, yeah.
Okay.
Anything new to add to this conversation? Or do you just, no, that's it? Okay, cool. So it just became really disappointing at that point.
And I really feel like that could have been an interesting... That could... I mean, that's not a greatly interesting or... it's not certainly not a new point or anything. Everyone's heard that before. But just imagining that conversation held through a series of challenges with both girls, because you could have made the blonde one interesting. Yeah, just a series of room challenges like that.
I thought, and maybe I'm misremembering the trailer or something, but I was under the impression that one was going to go through one door, one was going to go through the other door.
They made it look like that. I don't think they ever walked through the doors, but they did show them standing at both doors.
Yeah, and so I was totally ready for that, and I thought that was going to be the point, is that both of them were going to get through to a certain degree. I wasn't going to say both of them are going to survive, but I thought at a certain point they're both going to be getting through the maze, and you're going to be like, so wait, well, one of them is going to ultimately die at the end, right? But then they would end up then in the same room at the end, and that's when you'd be like, haha, see, bitch, no matter what choice you take, you always end up here, death, and they put them in like a death trap. But no, we skipped the whole fun part and went straight from there to the death trap and room, and like, you missed the whole fucking thing, dude. Where's the maze? Where's the beef?
And it's just been like so many of these horror films recently that we've seen. They start out semi-grounded and then have to get very mystical or devilish at the end, and it doesn't work for a lot of them. And like, this one was obviously faux spiritual. In the end, it wasn't real. It's just these Stockholm Syndrome women he's got that he can, he's starving them, so now they're contortionists or whatever. But, that was...
Well, they're used to fitting in those cages, so...
Still, that was...
Her back was itchy. She was trying to reach it. You saw her. She was like...
She had the reach for it, too.
Back there somewhere.
Got down, started praying to reach it. But it's like,
God, if you let me itch this, I won't do anything ever again.
but like...
It had so much goddamn potential.
They brought it down a whole level.
Yeah.
Just their
I'm just now, like, with the point I was saying, like, if they had taken that end room scene and put in half an hour of labyrinthing in between, I think I would have been okay with that. I would have loved it as much as if the whole rest of it was the labyrinthian stuff. But like, that could have worked. You needed some labyrinth in there.
Yeah. I mean, the labyrinth's gonna end somewhere, so that felt like a good spot to end the labyrinth
in a room where you go, it's a dead end for both of us, and that's when you could go like, yes, that was my whole point. I'm the angry atheist or whatever type shit.
Even if one of them just made it, and it was the one with the key in the end, if they made it through a labyrinth, that would have felt way more like, oh, you see, I am the goddamn mastermind of this the whole time. I put you through a whole fucking labyrinth and gave you that key. See, I knew you'd be the one to make it. She died like 3 rooms ago.
Yeah, when you slit somebody's throat and then go, I knew you would die, it's like...
Yeah, it's really just, oh, I put the key in your coat because you're the weak one. And I bet the weak one will make it because I'll kill the strong one.
Yeah. It's like, death. Haha, I knew that happened. But you did it!
But
which, once again, yes, it's part of his point and the philosophy and just, you're easy to control and manipulate. I get it, but like, lame.
Fair. And you know what? I am totally with that the weak one is easier to control, that he can predict some, not all, but some, let's say a large majority of her movements. He really expected her to turn into Sherlock Holmes and figure out the entire mystery?
He just knew she was.
Because fine, you can move her through the system, but the only way she gets to that ending there is by completely figuring out every step of the mystery in 2 reveals.
Yeah.
That were like just back to back almost. He knew she'd be Sherlock Holmes.
I loved how he saw them trying to get the matches and didn't bother stopping them because it's like completely pointless if they get it. And then he comes down while they're trying to light it and he goes, excuse me. Lights it.
That was funny because at first they made it seem like he steps into the room and you're like, how are you not going to notice the rug pulled out there? And then the pastor comes back and you're like, oh, I guess he didn't look down. No, he didn't care.
Yeah, no, he walked and saw it, went, okay. And then he literally came in and was like, all right, there we go, lit match. What are you going to do with that, bitch? All right.
It's sad, because there really were a few more moments. Wow.
Yeah, no, Hugh Grant stayed great throughout.
No, he stayed great. But the movie had a couple of moments, and you know what it really, now that I'm thinking more about it, it really, a lot of it was killing off the black-haired girl. She, as much as I didn't like where the plot was moving after the wife came in or whatever, the quote unquote wife. Yeah. After she walked in, I didn't really love where it was going. The black haired girl kept some interesting parts in the movie, at least. From being the proactive smart one.
I think it's that everything happened too quickly because she should have died, not yet. They should have figured out what was happening, but not yet. They should have ended up in that room, but not yet. Everything should have happened, just not as quickly as it did. And then after that, like, we didn't need the whole chamber with the women in cages and stuff. Like, at that point, it just became, like, we didn't need any of this. But anything before that, it's like everything was kind of still the right choice, just immediate payoff. Just set up payoff. And it's like, let it breathe. Let's get there. You know, it's like, you know, he has this huge, great rant about stuff, and then she goes, we need to start combating him. And so she goes, I don't agree. And he goes, oh, fun, dead. And you're like, well, it should have played out more, you know? And so it was just too quick. Like, here's an idea, okay, done. Here's an idea, okay, done. And it's like, nothing felt earned. Nothing felt like it really was going anywhere because it didn't have time to go anywhere. It was just there, you know? And like, even the things like, you know, there's this pipe leading so they can communicate, and it's like, oh, there's something in the pipe, and it's a spider, and you're like,
Okay.
Oh yeah, no,
Why?
that was interesting because at that point it was still potentially mystical, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, is the spider gonna bite her? Is that some like demons thing? What the? No, it's just a creepy spider.
just a spider.
It's a spider in a drain. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
they kind of like dark spaces. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right then.
Yeah. No.
You know what? Looking back, was I thought at one point going to be some interesting devilish connection that made it all seem real. The actor woman, she's the one that pretends to come back to life.
Yeah,
and it's like clouds, but not having a sense of whatever. I wanted to come back. It's not real.
It's not real. Yeah.
Yeah. Later on, before the one girl gets stabbed, when she's giving her final confrontation, or maybe right before that, she's describing her own near-death experience, and it's the exact description, basically.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh God, does he somehow have her exact description of near-death experience? Did he give that exact script? Is he like the devil or some shit? Is he connected to the devil? No, just coincidence. I guess that's just what all near-death experiences are like. Yeah, bright light, clouds, but not heaven. Wanted to come back.
Yeah. No, I loved when he went to dig out the thing in her arm, and he's like, "There, yep, there it is," and nope, that's a vein.
Yeah, no.
Puts it back in, finds it, and she's like, "It's not a microchip," and he's like, "Damn it!" All right,
I think it's just birth control. It's like crap, women.
yeah, he's like, "How did you know? You're a Mormon."
Why would she have birth? That was an interesting question, though. Why? It was like
Because very clearly they weren't. Well, she was more.
She was
of a
questioning.
bad Mormon. She did things. Although the other one watched porn.
yeah, the other one was the born.
Yeah.
I thought the other one would be the bad Mormon.
But-
Not the one defending the faith pretty well until.
Well, I think that's usually how it goes, is when you do have questions, you come up with better answers. When you don't question it, you're just happy-go-lucky, because you're like, well, of course I believe it. It's when you actually have doubts that you have to come up with good answers, but it's like you have good answers, but like, do you actually genuinely believe it, or are you just tricking yourself into believing it? And see, that's something that I really thought was going to come back when it came to the labyrinth that we never got, was he was going to know their flaws. He was going to be like, oh, so you're a believer. Oh, if you're such a believer, then why do you have this fault in your background? Like, oh, so you're a porn addict, or oh, you actually are doing this. Like, I didn't know what the dark-haired lady's thing was gonna be, other than she had doubts. So I thought, she's gonna send her down a path of doubt, and the other one is gonna be like, oh, you're so confident you believe. Okay, but maybe you're not worthy of being saved because of all your flaws. I thought that was gonna be like the two paths, and no, just none of that was brought back at all. What a waste, dude. What a cool premise, and nothing, absolutely nothing done with it. I really thought there was gonna be something cool there. It's like, oh, yeah.
Nope.
You think you're saved? Well, why do you watch porn then? Oh, you're not actually so good, are you? You're not so clean.
See, that's why when the
You think you're a Christian? Well, why do you doubt so much?
See, that's why when the raven-haired girl said her own near-death experience, I was like, shit, is he really like in communion with the devil or something? Does he really have this crazy level of knowledge? No.
I never really thought it was gonna get, it was in my head that it might get demonic, but I kind of always thought from the beginning it was just a guy that was gonna be torturing people for believing.
I thought that's what it was too, until the woman walked in, and I'm like, oh, is this because it's a horror movie? I'm like, oh, is this taking a spiritual turn now?
Yeah. And I also was like, we need something scary happening, because it is a horror movie, and I was like, up until this point, it's like a thriller.
Yeah.
Like, when is it going to become horror? Then again, we were misled with Long Legs. That was pretty much a thriller the whole time too. So I don't know.
And that was the worst part of Long Legs too, was when it became the horror.
Spiritual, yeah. All right, well, that's what we had to think. What did you guys think, though? If you saw it and you have any comments, please let us know them. We'd love to hear what you think. Also, don't forget to like, share. If you're new here, subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.